Hey, welcome to the series of everything you need to know about Python in simplest possible way. In our previous video, we have discussed conditional checking methods which are isAlpha, isDecimal, isNumeric, isDigit and also isAllNum, right? So in this video, we will be checking some of the methods which are islower, isupper, istitile, isspace, isprintable, isidentifier that we will be seeing in this video, which are very interesting and which are very important. So here I will be having, let us go ahead and see the first method that we have in this video, which is islower. Islower, this particular method is used to check the alphabets is in the lowercase or not. If those are in the lowercase, it will return true, or otherwise it will return false. Let's say I am having a string which is like here, and after that I am calling this particular is lower here. So now if I execute this, we can able to see the result which is true, because this particular alphabets, all alphabets in this particular string are having in the lowercase. Let's say if I have this particular L in the uppercase, so now if I execute this, we are getting the result which is false. Let's say I will take up this and I will have this particular small L only, and if I execute this, we are getting true, right? So let's say, can I have any numbers in this case? So I am putting a number which is 5, and now if I execute this, we still are getting the result is true. So because we are having this particular number and we does not having any character in the uppercase, right? So for that reason only it was giving the result which is true. So let's say, can I have any special characters in this case? I am having dollar here after this particular 5, and now if I execute this, it was still giving the result which is true here. So you can observe the cell count is increasing, and see, you can see the result. We are getting the result which is true, though we have this particular special character and this particular number. The only condition that we are checking in this case is that either this particular string are having all of them are in the lowercase or not. Any one string in the uppercase which results false here. Let's say I am having K here which is in the capital case, and if I execute this, we are getting false. So now I hope you can able to understand this particular functionality of this particular lower. Whenever all these alphabets in this particular string are should be in the lowercase, in such case only it will return true, or otherwise it will return false. And apart from that, if I have an empty string here, it will return false, because we don't have any alphabets. For that reason, it was returning the result which is false here. So let us go ahead and see one more method, which is isupper, which is quite opposite to islower, because this particular isupper checks all the characters which are in the uppercase or not. Let us go ahead and see that. So let's say if I have this particular string which is in the uppercase, and if I call this particular is upper here, and if I execute this, we are getting true, because all the characters in this case are in the uppercase. Let's say at least one character is in the lowercase. Here I am having putting small e, which is the only character that we have in the lowercase in this particular string. And now if I execute this, we are getting false, because we have encountered one character which is in the lowercase, which means we should have all the characters that is present inside of the string should be in the uppercase. Any one character if occurs in lowercase, this particular isupper returns false. So apart from this, can I have any number here? So I am putting 2 here, and if I execute this, we are getting true, because we didn't encounter any character in the lowercase. Apart from this, let's say, can I have this particular @ here? So now if I execute this, still it was returning the result which is true, because this particular @ is not in the lowercase. It is a special character. So now I hope you can able to understand this particular isupper functionality, and all the characters in this particular string should be in the uppercase, apart from numbers and special characters. Any one character is occurred in the lowercase, that will be returned false. Apart from this, if I have an empty string, it will return false here. So you can see the difference here. So let us go ahead and see one more method that we have, which is isTitle. So in our previous videos, when we are discussing this particular conversion of the characters from normal characters to title, the first characters of the word should be come in the alphabetic, which is in the uppercase, right? So what we will be doing is that we will take an example which is like here. In this case, the first character, which is L, is in the uppercase. If I execute this by using this particular is title here, and if I call this and if I execute this, we are getting true because this particular L is in the uppercase. That is what the functionality of this particular title. And I will take one more word, which is and subscribe here. So now if I execute this, it was still returning the result which is true, because in all the words here, all the first characters are in the uppercase. That is what the functionality of title, right? So all the words should be in the uppercase. Let's say I have this subscribe which is in the lowercase here. I am taking this in the lowercase. So now if I execute this, we are getting false, because in one word which is subscribe, the first letter does not having the uppercase. For that reason, it was returning the result which is false. So I hope by this you can able to understand this particular functionality of isTitle. All the characters should be in the uppercase, or otherwise it will return false. Let's say I will put capital S only and I will give some number, let's say 4 here. This can be considered as another word, right? So because we are giving a space and after that we are having this particular number. So now if I execute this, it was still returning true, because though it is considered as another word, it does not having in the lowercase. So it can be considered in the uppercase. For that reason only, we are getting the result which is true. So in this example, all the words in the first character are in the uppercase. Because of that reason, it is giving the return as true. Let's say I have this letter which is S in the small case after this particular 4. So now this particular 4S can be considered as a word, right? So now if I execute this, it was returning false because this particular S is in the lowercase, which means that this particular 4 does not considered by this particular isTitle. Only the characters are considered in this case. So now if I execute by putting capital S here, we are getting true. So now I hope you can able to understand this particular isTitle only consider the words which are having the first character should be in the uppercase. Any other numbers or special characters it won't consider at all, and it was simply returning true if all of the other words starting with uppercase characters, or otherwise it will return false. So let us go ahead and see one more method that we have, which is isspace. So this particular isspace only checks the string is space or not. Let's say I'm having this particular space, and if I call this method is space here. So now if I execute this, we are getting true because we are having a space here. We are only having one space, right? Let's say if I put more spaces here, we have more spaces, right? So now if I execute this, it was still returning the result as true, because all of these strings are this whole string having all the spaces, right? So for that reason only it was returning true. Let's say at least one character. Let's say I'm putting A here. Before this particular A, we have some spaces. After this particular A, we have some spaces, right? So now if I execute this, it was returning false because we have encountered one character which is non-space, which is not a space, right? So A is not a space. Because of that reason, we are getting the result which is false here. So can I put at least a number here? So now if I execute this, it was still returning the result which is false, because this particular number 4 cannot be considered as a space. So can I have a special character at least? So now if I execute this, still it was returning false because this particular dollar cannot be considered as a space. So let's say I have an empty string here. So I don't have any characters at all. If I execute this, it was still returning false because this particular empty string cannot be considered as a single space. Because of that reason, it was returning false. So now I hope you can able to understand this particular is space. This particular is space returns true when we have all the spaces in our string. Apart from that, when we have any at least one characters, in such case it will return false. Apart from that, when we have an empty string, in such case also it will return false. Let us go ahead and see one more method, which is printable. So let's say whenever we return anything inside of this particular print, that will be printed, right? Like and subscribe. So now if I execute this, it was coming in the output like and subscribe, right? So let's say if I put a backslash n here, so backslash n is used to represent to get a new line. So now if I execute this, we are getting like and in one line and subscribe in another line because we are putting this particular backslash n. Let's say if I put backslash t here, backslash t is used to represent a tab spaces. When we enter tab, we will be getting some spaces, right? So that is what we are representing this particular backslash t. So now if I execute this, we are getting a tab space here, and after that we are getting this particular subscribe. So in here you can you see this particular backslash t in the output? No, right? We are getting the result which is a tab spaces, not this particular backslash t. In here also, can you see a new line which is backslash n here? No, you are simply getting a new line, which means that whatever you are mentioning with this particular backslash t or backslash n is not coming in the output, right? So that is what the reason that we are calling is printable. If it is coming in the output, that is printable. If it is not coming in the output, that is not printable. So that is what we are checking by using this particular is printable. So we have seen this particular example, right? So I will take the same example here and I will check with this particular is printable. So now I have this particular backslash n, right? So now if I check is printable, and now if I execute this, it was returning false because this particular backslash n cannot come in the output. It cannot be printed as backslash n, right? So now if I remove this particular backslash n and if I execute this, we are getting true because all the characters here can be printed, right? So because of that reason only, we are getting the result true. Apart from this particular alphabets, we can have any numbers and any special characters. That won't be a problem. So you can see the result we are getting true here. I will execute once again. You can see the result we are getting true because this won't be a problem. These numbers and this particular special characters won't be a problem because all of these things can be printable, right? So I will take this whole string and I will show you these are printable. So now what I will be doing is that I will print this particular string here. So now if I execute this, we can see all of these things are coming in the output, right? So the only things that we cannot come is we have a specific escape characters like this backslash n, backslash c, backslash t, backslash b. Like that we have some escape characters. Those cannot be come in the output. Those cannot be printed. By using this particular is printable, we can check those elements are present in this particular string or not. If those are present, as we cannot see the output of them in the output, because of that reason we can see the result which is printable coming false for such backslash n and backslash t. So now I hope you can able to understand this particular is printable. So let us go ahead and see one more method that we have, which is identifier. When we are defining an identifier, let's say variable itself, variable or identifier are both are same, right? So whenever we are defining a variable, we will be following some conditions, right? So it should be having alphanumeric characters. It should not have any other special characters except underscore. Apart from that, it should not, the variable should not have a number at the beginning. Like that we have some conditions. The identifier should not have any spaces. Like that we have some conditions. And to check the specified identifier is actually and can be an identifier or not, that we can check by using this particular is identifier. So I will take an example which is like here, and if I check this particular is identifier or not, if I execute this, we are getting true, because by using this like we can consider it as a variable and identifier, right? Because of that reason we are getting true. Let's say if I mention 2 here at the beginning of this particular like, if I execute this, it was returning false, because one of the condition to define identifier is that we should not have the numbers at the beginning. For that reason only it was giving false. If I mention at the end or at middle, we don't have any problem. If I execute this, we are getting true. So apart from this, let's say when we have any special characters, so apart from underscore, let's say I have underscore, and if I execute this, we are getting true. And if I have any special character, let's say at the rate here, and if I execute this, it was returning false, because we should not have any special characters while defining variable apart from underscores. For that reason, we are getting false for this case. So like that, we can check either is this particular string can be considered as identifier or not. Let's say what I will be doing here is that I will take this particular, let's say def here. Def is a keyword, right? So let's say if I check this particular def is identifier or not, if I execute this, it was returning true. But in reality, when we should not have any keywords as identifier. I will show you that. Let's say I have this def and I am assigning 10 to this def. By using this particular assignment operator, we are defining this particular variable of def, right? So now if I execute this, we are getting a syntax error, because this particular def is a keyword and we cannot use this particular def as a identifier. For that reason only we are getting syntax error here. But whereas when we check this particular is identifier, which is returning true, which is not actually true, which is resulted as false. But why it is showing true? Because these keywords are defined in this particular is identifier while defining this particular method. Because of that reason, we are getting true, which is actually a false. So that is the only drawback with this particular is identifier. When we are defining this particular keywords inside of the strings, though those are cannot be considered as identifier, but still this particular is identifier method returns as true, and it was saying you can consider this particular string as identifier, which is not true. So that is a one major important thing that we need to have in mind. So that is about is identifier, and let us go ahead and see one more method that we have, which is isascii. So in Python in general, we have some coding techniques, encoding technique, which is ASCII codes. Alphabets can be alphabets and special characters are defined with ASCII codes. So these ASCII codes can be considered as these particular special characters and alphabets can be represented with some integers. So because of that reason, we are using this particular ASCII codes. We are checking a specific alphabet is considered as ASCII code or not. So let's say I have this particular A and I am checking this particular A is ASCII or not. If I execute this, it was returning true, because this particular A is part of the ASCII codes. In the table here, this is the ASCII codes that we have from 1 till 128. These are these special characters, these numbers, these alphabets in the uppercase, these alphabets in the lowercase, are every alphabet, every special characters are defined with a specific integer that you can observe here. Any alphabet that is apart from this particular table are considered as non-ASCII codes. So when we pass those things, those will be returning as non-ASCII codes. I will give some special character here, and if I execute this, it was returning true, because this is present inside of the ASCII values only. If I give @ here, it was still giving the result true, because it is also in the ASCII code only. So previously we have discussed Arabic numbers, right? So these are Arabic 1, 2, 3. If I take any number, let's say I am taking 2 here, and if I pass this particular 2 to this ASCII, so this is 2, right? This is Arabic 2. This is not defined in this particular table. So through this particular ASCII coding. So now if I pass this and if I execute this, you can see the result. We are getting the result as false because this particular symbol are not defined as ASCII codes. For that reason only we are getting false. So now I hope you can able to understand this particular ASCII method is ASCII methods, which is used to check the passing thing, the string is having ASCII codes or not. Let's say if I have ABC apart from this particular 2 here, and if I execute this, it was still returning false because we have identified one non-ASCII code. At least if I found one non-ASCII codes, this particular method will return false. So if I remove this and if I execute this, we are still getting true because A, B, C are defined in the ASCII table and ASCII values. So now I hope you can able to understand all of these methods that we have discussed in this video and in our previous videos. So if you found any difficulty, comment your difficulty in the comment section. I will help you out. So thank you for watching this video. If you found this video interesting, hit the like button. Like this, we have some other methods we have that we will be seeing in our next video. So to stay updated with my latest videos, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications to all so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.